Let's talk more flavor gems of Duskmourn, this time red. I've already mentioned how much I love the beasties in this set, and I think the bedhead beastie is just adorable. It's a monster under your bed, but it's the friendly monster that you see in a lot of children's books. I love Chainsaw. It's very iconic to the horror genre. Between the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and also Evil Dead, where the main character, Ash, has to use it to fight off the Deadites, and when he eventually loses his hand, he straps this on as like a prosthetic, so he has like a chainsaw hand. The drumming monkey is so iconic in horror that like I had to look it up to where it originally came from because it appears in so much stuff. There's such an uncanny valley creepy thing that goes on with these like usually it's like the monkey with the cymbals that you wind up and it just clangs them against each other, and it creates this sort of tension just through the sound design of that alone. Cursed Recording is a very clear reference to The Ring, where if you watch it, you'll die in 7 days. And so then here you will die if you get 7 counters. This seems like a great one to pass to other people, just like in The Ring. Here's my favorite is Fear of. It's a very active fear for Magic fans, but it also feels like a very much more abstract, but also equally horrifying fear for a lot of us. Grab the prize. There's so many horror media where there's this moment that the thing you need is within reach, but do you really want to stick your hand in there? Speaking of hands, Hand That Feeds also feels like an Evil Dead reference, because when Ash loses his hand, it actually like reanimates and tries to kill him. There's a whole film called Idle Hands that's basically about the same thing. Impossible Inferno I'm just noting here because I love seeing this little gremlin run away. I did a whole video on the gremlins of the set, so I won't talk about them much here, but I do love the gremlins in the set. I love that they vary from sort of cute and mischievous to like clearly horrifying, just like in the classic film. Most Valuable Slayer is another one of those archetype cards I was talking about. It's that jock character who comes through in a clutch. I did a whole video on Norn, so I'm not going to talk about him much here, but I think if there was like one extra planar card to bring here, I think Norn was a good choice. Ragged Playmate is a Raggedy Ann doll. Note that Hasbro owns Raggedy Ann. But what's important to note here is that the origin of Annabelle, if you've watched the Conjuring franchise, the sort of real doll that's based on, the real doll wasn't haunted. The people from the Conjuring franchise that it's based on, they're charlatans. But the original doll it was based on was supposedly like a Raggedy Ann doll. So we have both this, the original inspiration for Annabelle, and we also have Arabelle, which is very much an Annabelle reference. Razorkin Needlehead. The Needlehead part kind of reminds me of the Cenobites from Hellraiser, where the main character is known as Pinhead, and he has pins all over his head. I've talked about those sadomasochistic demons enough, though. Trial of Agony is such a great archetypal, like, death game. This one, they're stuck in a tug-of-war. One of them is going to get dragged into this giant saw. I don't know the origin of this specific one. Like, obviously, this is another Lord of Pain game. But, you know, I've seen so many pieces of fiction that have a moment like this that it's hard to narrow one down. Like, all the way down to, like, some of those horror video games have had moments like this. And the last one I want to talk about is Turn Inside Out. This very much reminds me of The Thing, which is one of my favorite horror movies from the 80s. There's a moment where they're trying to do chest compressions on a guy they think is dead, but it turns out it is actually the alien monster, and the chest opens up and they're like these giant jaws that then clamp down and like bite the guy's arms off. Spoilers, I guess, for a 40-year-old movie. Next time, green.